Welcome, dear dreamers and seekers of wonder. Tonight, we step together into one of the most fascinating questions of science and philosophy. Is reality as solid as it seems? Or is it an illusion shaped by our perception? From the stars above us to the atoms within us, everything you know, everything you see, is filtered through the lens of your mind. What you touch, what you hear, even the very sense of time flowing forward, may not be as absolute as it feels. In this journey, we'll slow down, breathe, and explore how science and mystery intertwine to create the world you call real. If you're new here, I invite you to join this growing circle of curious souls. Take a moment to like this video, not just for the algorithm, but as a signal to yourself that you're choosing to nurture your wonder tonight. If something we explore stirs your imagination, leave a comment below. I read them all, and they spark ideas for future journeys together. And if you'd like to continue traveling deeper into these quiet mysteries, from the science of sleep, to the edges of space, to the illusions of mind and matter, then please subscribe and gently tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when the next door opens. Finally, if you know a friend who, like you, drifts between curiosity and calm, share this video with them. The journey into mystery is even more meaningful when traveled together. So, settle in, soften your breathing, and let's begin this exploration into the illusion of reality. As your eyes grow heavy, you drift into the soft veil of perception. Reality feels solid, but already the edges blur. Light, sound, and touch arrive as whispers, woven together by your brain into a story called the world. Tonight, you begin to notice that the curtain itself may be an illusion. The day fades like a candle burning low, and you rest on the edge between waking and sleep. The noise of the world softens, dissolving into the background until only the rhythm of your breath remains. In this tender quiet, you may notice something often overlooked. Reality, the solid stage on which you move and speak, is not as firm as it once seemed. It is not given whole, not poured into your mind like water into a vessel. Instead, it is stitched together, thread by thread, sensation by sensation, into a tapestry that you call the world. Close your eyes for a moment. Darkness greets you, yet even this darkness is not empty. Patterns of light flicker, shapes form and dissolve. Your mind continues painting, even when the outer canvas disappears. This is the first hint of the curtain, that what you see, hear, and touch is not the world itself, but a performance unfolding within you. The curtain of perception falls, and behind it, the machinery of your brain works tirelessly, transforming signals into stories. Consider light. You look at a flower, and its color feels immediate, undeniable. The red of a rose, the green of its stem, the golden halo of sunlight on its petals. Yet what truly arrives at your eyes is not color at all, but packets of energy, tiny quanta called photons. They strike the cells at the back of your eye, and in that silent contact, electrical whispers begin. No redness lives in those photons. No greenness glows in the rays of light. Color, as you know it, blooms only in your mind. The world outside is a pattern of energy. The world inside is painted into hues. Now imagine the sound. A bird sings beyond your window. A gentle trill floats in the air. But air does not carry music. it carries only pressure, waves of molecules pressing forward and falling back. They ripple outward like circles on a pond. When they reach your ear, they nudge tiny hairs that send signals racing into the depths of your brain. There, the wave is given form. There, the vibration becomes a note, a melody, a song that can stir your heart. The curtain hides this transformation so well that you rarely notice. You hear not the movement of air, but the meaning your mind creates. Touch, too, is part of this illusion. You place your hand on the arm of a chair. You feel firmness, solidity. Yet the atoms in your hand and the atoms in the chair never truly meet. They are separated by clouds of electric fields, repelling each other before contact occurs. What you feel as pressure is the sum of invisible forces translated by nerves into sensation. It is as though the world has texture, but the texture is a story told inside you. And so, the curtain falls gently between what is outside and what is inside. Every sight, every sound, every feeling must cross that veil, transformed in the crossing. The stage you live on is not the raw world, but the mind's recreation of it. This does not make it less beautiful. In fact, it may make it more, for the mind does not merely copy. It composes, weaving threads into meaning. You may wonder, if reality is filtered, then what is truly there? Science, too, asks this question. Instruments stretch beyond our senses. Telescopes collect light invisible to your eye's infrared heat, ultraviolet rays, radio waves whispering from stars. Microscopes peer at worlds too small to touch, where cells swim and molecules dance. Yet even these instruments do not show the world directly. They, too, send signals to detectors, which are translated into images and graphs, colors and numbers. Always, the curtain remains. Always, what you know is shaped from what is given. This might sound unsettling. The world you trust, the ground beneath your feet, is a story told to you. But perhaps it is gentler to think of it as a gift. Your mind is not lying to you. It is guiding you, giving you a version of reality suited for life. The colors of the flower draw you near to nectar and sweetness. The song of the bird calls your attention to presence, to change, to companionship. The firmness of the chair tells you of support, safety, and rest. Illusion here is not deception. It is a bridge. It is the way life touches life. A moment that you could step fully behind the curtain, that you could see the world not as your mind presents it, but as it is in its rawest form, buzzing particles, rippling fields, vast emptiness between atoms. Would you even recognize it? Or would it feel alien, incomprehensible, a hum of patterns without meaning? The curtain spares you from this disorientation. It filters chaos into poetry. It gives you a world you can walk through, a world that feels alive, warm, and knowable. The curtain, however, is not flawless. Sometimes it bends the truth too far. Illusions of sight can trick you. A mirage shimmers on a hot road, a pool of water that is not there. Shadows can twist into faces where none exist. The brain, eager to weave patterns, sometimes invents more than reality provides. These mistakes remind you again, what you see is not simply what is, but what you imagine through the senses. Even memory, the way you hold the past, is subject to this same weaving. Each time you recall, the curtain shifts, altering details, smoothing edges, filling gaps. You believe you remember faithfully, but your memories too are recreations. They are dreams repeated until they feel solid. The world outside changes. The world inside adjusts. The story continues. As you lie here, breathing slowly, you can feel how fragile and exquisite this arrangement is. Without the curtain, the flood of energy and vibration from the world would overwhelm you. With it, life becomes a soft stage where meaning unfolds. You walk among symbols, guided by sensations transformed into language. Reality becomes a kind of lullaby, humming quietly as you move through it. This curtain of perception has deep roots. Evolution, across millions of years, has shaped it carefully. Creatures that could not interpret the world did not survive. Those that found patterns, that noticed color or sound or touch, lived and passed on their ways of sensing. Slowly, perception became refined, polished into what you now carry. Your eyes, your ears, your skin, these are instruments crafted by time. And behind them, your brain conducts the orchestra, weaving sensation into harmony. Still, this harmony is only one among many. Other creatures live beneath different curtains. Abysses flowers painted in ultraviolet glowing patterns invisible to you. A bat navigates the night with echoes, sculpting a world from sound alone. A fish feels the subtle ripples of movement in water. Their realities are not yours, yet they are no less real. Each creature lives behind its own veil, its own performance of the world. Together, they remind you that reality is not singular, but plural, unfolding in countless ways. The curtain is gentle, but it also whispers a profound truth. Reality is not given, but made. You do not stand outside it, observing. You are inside, immersed, co-creating what you call the world. Each moment is both reception and imagination. Each step is both discovery and invention. You are the listener and the storyteller at once. As the day falls fully into night, let this awareness settle into you like mist. The curtain is not something to fear. It is soft, protective, and creative. It makes the world navigable. It makes life meaningful. And yet, knowing it exists gives you a deeper appreciation of the mystery. You see the edges blur, the firmness soften, and you understand that beneath the surface lies something vast, unknown, waiting. And so, with the curtain drawn, you drift. You drift into the awareness that your senses are not windows, but mirrors, reflecting not just the outer world, but the inner one as well. You drift with the recognition that illusion and reality are inseparable, entwined like threads in a fabric. You drift with the sense that perhaps the truest gift is not certainty, but wonder. Let yourself rest with that thought. Let it rock you like a tide. Tonight, the curtain falls, and with it, you step softly into mystery. Every color you see is not out there, but a dance of photons meeting your eyes. Red sunsets, blue skies, and green leaves are coded messages, translated by your mind into meaning. Light becomes not just vision, but the brush that paints your entire reality. In its glow, you discover that what seems real is always shaped by the invisible. Close your eyes for a moment and notice the darkness. In that darkness, there are no colors, no edges, no shapes. The world outside has not disappeared, but your experience of it has paused. When you open your eyes again, it will return in an instant, as though reality has been switched on. Yet what you call reality is not the world itself. It is the soft glow of light carried to you across space, translated by your body into something you can feel and understand. Light is the painter of your days. Every sunrise that washes the sky in pink and gold, every glimmer of moonlight that spills across your floor at night, every shade of green in a forest or blue in the sea, all of it is light, dancing with your eyes, shaping what you call your world. But what is light, really? At its most basic, light is energy, moving in small packets called photons. Each photon is tiny, weightless, and restless, rushing through space at the fastest speed known in the universe. Imagine them as travelers with no need for rest, crossing the cosmic stage to bring you messages from everything around you. When you look at a star, you are not seeing the star itself. You are catching the photons it has released, sometimes millions or even billions of years ago. Those photons have been racing endlessly until they finally meet your eyes. In that quiet meeting, ancient history becomes your present. The light you see tonight from a distant galaxy may have left its home before humans even existed. Light is not just illumination, it is time itself, arriving gently in the moment you open your eyes. During the day, sunlight is your most familiar companion. A beam of sunlight begins at the heart of the sun, where hydrogen atoms fuse together in a fiery embrace. That fusion creates photons, but the journey outward is slow. Each photon may take thousands or even millions of years to make its way from the sun's dense interior to the surface. Only then does it leap into space, crossing 93 million miles in just over 8 minutes to reach you. When that sunlight lands on your skin or glitters on the ocean, you are meeting energy that was born long before you ever drew your first breath. When photons enter your eyes, they touch a thin sheet of tissue called the retina. Within this delicate layer live cells shaped like tiny rods and cones. They are your body's translators, capable of taking the invisible language of photons and turning it into something you can know as vision. The rods are sensitive to faint light. They help you see in the dim quiet of twilight. The cones are tuned to color red, green, and blue signals that your brain weaves together into every shade you know. Think of it. The redness of a rose does not live inside the rose. The rose reflects certain wavelengths of light and absorbs the rest. The photons that bounce off its petals carry only the code of that redness. Your eye catches them, your brain interprets them, and the feeling of red blooms inside your mind. Without you, the rose is just a surface scattering photons. With you, the rose is alive with color. The same is true of the sky. Why is it blue? As sunlight enters Earth's atmosphere, it meets molecules of air. The shorter, bluer wavelengths scatter more easily, spreading across the sky and filling your vision with a dome of blue. But when the sun sinks low, its light travels farther through the atmosphere. The blue scatters away, leaving behind the warmer reds and oranges that set the horizon on fire. Sunset is not painted on the sky, it is painted within you as scattered. Photons reach your eyes in a new arrangement. Light does more than let you see. It guides the rhythms of your body. Hidden in your brain is a small clock called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, resting just above where the nerves from your eyes cross. This clock listens to light, telling your body when to be awake and when to sleep. When the morning sun rises and fills your room, light signals your brain to release alertness. When evening falls and darkness grows, your body releases melatonin, a hormone that guides you into rest. The cycle of day and night is not only in the sky, is written into your cells, etched by light. But light has subtler stories too. It bends when it passes through water or glass, creating illusions like the sparkle of a rainbow or the bending of a straw in a cup. It reflects from smooth surfaces, doubling images in mirrors. It can be split into colors by a prism, revealing that white sunlight is not pure at all, but a chorus of many hues. In each case, photons move in predictable ways, yet the result feels magical, as if the world is constantly performing small tricks for your delight. Even the colors you don't see are part of your life. Bees, for example, can see ultraviolet light, painting flowers with patterns invisible to you. Snakes can sense infrared light, detecting the warmth of their prey in the dark. Human eyes capture only a sliver of the spectrum, a narrow window of wavelengths. Beyond that window lies a vast reality you cannot see, though it shapes the world just as much. Light reminds you that perception is limited. What you see feels whole, but it is only a fragment. As you drift deeper into this thought, notice how light connects everything. Without it, you could not see, but without it, plants could not live either. Through photosynthesis, leaves take in sunlight, turning its energy into food, creating oxygen as a gift for you to breathe. Every bite of fruit, every breath you take, carries the quiet power of light transformed into life. You are, in a sense, made of sunlight, stored and shared. Now imagine again that quiet moment when you close your eyes. The colors vanish, the shapes fade, and the photons pass by unseen. Yet the world continues, filled with light, whether you perceive it or not. This reminds you that your experience of reality is not reality itself. It is a story written in light and translated by your body into meaning. The world outside and the world inside are woven together, and light is the thread. Think of your memories, the way sunlight filtered through trees on a childhood afternoon, or how golden lamps once lit a quiet room where you felt safe. These memories live in your mind, yet each is tied to photons that once touched you and vanished. Light is fleeting, but it leaves behind traces that endure long after the moment has passed. In this way, light shapes not only what you see, but who you are. It is woven into your sense of beauty, your rhythms of rest, your most cherished recollections. You are constantly touched by invisible messengers from the stars, and though you rarely think of them, they are the brushstrokes of your reality. As you rest now, you may notice the glow of your surroundings. Perhaps it is the soft silver of the moon, perhaps the faint warmth of a lamp, perhaps only the memory of the sun as you drift toward sleep. Whatever it is, it carries the same story. Photons traveling vast distances, arriving at the edge of your awareness, painting the moment you inhabit. And as you consider the miracle of light, a new question quietly emerges. For if photons bring you the world, how is it that your brain turns them into vivid pictures, the seamless reality, the theater of experience that you call your life? Behind your forehead, your brain is a stage where sparks of electricity play roles in silence. Neurons weave signals into pictures, sounds, and feelings. What you call now is stitched together from fragments, a performance that feels seamless, but is never truly real. Time. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a theater. The seats are empty, the curtains are still, and the air is hushed. No sound echoes, no actor moves. And yet, in the darkness, a quiet electricity waits to rise, a readiness humming beneath the silence. This theater is not outside you. It lives within your skull, behind your forehead, pulsing gently with life. It is your brain, the stage on which reality itself is performed. Every sound you hear, every touch you feel, every color you see begins as something simple, a signal carried into this stage. Neurons, the tiny actors of your nervous system, are the players. They do not speak in words or pictures. They speak in sparks, in whispers of electricity that leap from one cell to another. Each neuron is small, yet together they form a cast of billions. Without pause, imagine a single neuron, a delicate cell with branching arms like the limbs of a tree. These branches stretch outward, touching and listening to the branches of others. When a spark arrives, it races down the long trunk of the neuron and bursts outward at the tips, crossing the small gap to the next cell. This gap is called a synapse, a tiny space where chemicals flow, carrying the message across. It happens in less than 1,000th of a second, but within that instant, the neuron has spoken, and the stage grows brighter. Now expand your view, billions of neurons firing, each one sparking in patterns, like stars lighting up and fading in a night sky. Some patterns create vision, weaving together photons from the eyes. Others create sound, interpreting waves of vibration from your ears. Still others create touch, taste, smell, memory, thought. Each cluster of sparks becomes a thread in the tapestry, and your brain stitches them into a seamless whole. But here is the secret. The performance you experience as now is never truly immediate. By the time light reaches your eyes, is converted into electrical signals, and is woven into the stage of your brain, a small delay has already passed. Your present moment is stitched together from events that happened a fraction of a second ago. You are always living in a slightly reconstructed past, though it feels perfectly present. This delay is gentle, almost invisible, but it means your perception is not a mirror of reality, is a play created for you. The actors perform with such skill, with such seamless rhythm, that you never notice the stagecraft. What you call reality is the show your brain produces, night and day, moment by moment. Consider sound. When someone speaks to you, the air vibrates in waves. Your ears catch those waves, turning them into electrical sparks. But before the sound reaches awareness, your brain adjusts and edits it, synchronizing it with what you see. If the lips move and the sound is slightly out of step, your brain quietly corrects it, aligning the two so they feel simultaneous. The performance smooths the rough edges, so the story flows without interruption. Consider vision. Your eyes are constantly moving, darting back and forth in tiny flickers called saccades. Each flicker shifts the scene on your retina, yet you never see the world as a jumble of jumps. Your brain erases the blur, filling in the gaps, giving you the illusion of a stable, continuous view. Reality, as you know it, is less like a photograph and more like a carefully edited film. And then there is memory, the backdrop of the stage. Without memory, each moment would vanish as soon as it appeared. Neurons in your hippocampus, deep inside your brain, record fragments of experience and bind them together. When you recall a memory, you are not replaying a perfect recording. Instead, you are restitching the play, piecing together fragments into a coherent scene. Each time you remember, the stage sets shift slightly. Your memories feel solid, but they, too, are performances, fragile and changing with time. The beauty of the brain's stage is in its quiet adaptability. Imagine walking into a forest. At first, your senses are overwhelmed. The scatter of light through leaves, the chorus of birdsong, the damp scent of earth. Yet within moments, your brain organizes it. The sparks of neurons assemble the colors into trees, the sounds into songs, the scents into presence. The stage is dressed, the actors know their roles, and suddenly the forest is not chaos, it is your experience, alive and whole. This orchestration is so natural that you rarely notice it, but when you pause, when you listen deeply, you can sense the performance beneath. You can feel how your thoughts arise unbidden, how sensations flow together, how awareness itself seems to emerge from a silence you cannot touch. The stage is always at work. Even when you sleep, in dreams, the curtains do not fall. Neurons still spark, weaving stories from fragments of memory and imagination. In the quiet of night, your brain becomes both playwright and audience, stitching together a dream that feels as vivid as waking life. When you awaken, you realize the play was within you, projected not by light or sound, but by your own stagecraft. And yet, as seamless as the brain's theater may feel, it is not infallible. Sometimes, the actor's misstep, you may see an illusion, where lines or colors trick your brain into perceiving something that isn't there. You may hear your name in a whisper of wind, or feel a phantom vibration in your pocket. These are reminders that your brain is always interpreting, always guessing, always creating coherence from incomplete signals. Reality is not raw data, it is your brain's best version of the story. Think of how comforting this is. Your brain is not a cold machine copying the world. It is a storyteller, softening the edges, smoothing the rhythms, making sense of what arrives. In this sense, your perception is not just survival, it is art, crafted within you every moment of your life. Now breathe slowly. Notice how your awareness feels steady, as though the stage has been lit just for you. You hear the softness of your environment. You sense your body at rest, and it feels immediate, undeniable. Yet somewhere, deep in the folds of your cortex, sparks are firing, editing, weaving, performing. You are both the audience and the play. This stage is quiet, yet it is vast. Within it, thoughts rise like actors entering, linger for a moment, and then fade away. Some thoughts return, some never do. Feelings appear like music, sometimes gentle, sometimes stormy. Perceptions arrive as scenery, shifting with each moment. You sit in the audience of your own mind, watching a show that never ends. And though the performance feels continuous, it is built from fragments, stitched across time. A spark here, a signal there, a memory, a sensation woven together into a fabric that feels whole. This is why your experience of now is not a single instant, but a flowing stream. Your brain stitches together fractions of seconds, creating the illusion of continuity. Reality, as you know it, is a river built from droplets. Pause and feel this. The stage is never silent, even when you sleep. It is always weaving, always performing, always shaping the world within you. The sparks that leap across neurons are as essential to your reality as sunlight is to vision. Without them, the curtains would fall and the play would end. And as you rest in this awareness, another thought drifts in, gentle as a breeze. If your perception is always stitched together from fragments, if your now is always a reconstruction of the past, what does that mean for your sense of time itself? Seconds tick, minutes pass, and yet time is slippery. In dreams, hours fold into moments. In awe, moments stretch into infinity. You explore how your brain bends and shapes time, making it feel slower, faster, or even vanish into nothing at all. You lie still, feeling the slow rhythm of your breath. One inhale, one exhale. The air moves in, then out again, like the ocean tide. In this rhythm, you sense the passing of moments, the gentle drift of time. Yet, when you try to hold it, time slips away, like water through open hands. We live in time, but we do not always feel it the same way. A moment of joy can vanish in an instant, as though minutes dissolve into seconds. A moment of waiting can feel like an eternity, each second stretching unbearably. This simple truth reveals a mystery. Time is not experienced equally. It bends and stretches, folds and disappears, depending on the stage of your mind. Scientists measure time with extraordinary precision. Atomic clocks tick with the steady rhythm of electrons jumping between states, accurate to billionths of a second. Physics treats time as a dimension, flowing at a steady pace across the universe. But your brain is not a clock. Your mind does not measure time in strict beats. Instead, it weaves time into experience, creating a rhythm that feels deeply personal. Think of the last time you felt awe. Perhaps you stood before a vast ocean or looked up into a star-filled sky. At that moment, time seemed to slow down. The world opened wider, and each second felt stretched, filled with more detail than usual. Awe floods your senses, pulling your attention outward, and in doing so, it changes your perception of time. When attention expands, time expands with it. Now think of the last time you waited for something, an appointment, a bus, a message you longed to see. Minutes dragged endlessly, even though the clock on the wall ticked at its usual pace. Boredom and impatience narrow your focus, amplifying each second, making it feel longer. Here, attention contracts and time thickens. And yet, when you look back on these moments in memory, the pattern shifts again. A long wait may feel short in hindsight, vanishing into the blur of your day. But an hour spent in awe feels long in memory, stretching with richness. Your brain does not record time like a camera. It builds it from memory, attention, and feeling. Dreams reveal this most clearly. You drift into sleep, and in a few minutes of real time, your mind can spin a story that feels like hours or days. In the theater of the sleeping brain, time is fluid, untethered to the steady march of clocks. It expands, collapses, and reshapes itself freely. When you wake, you marvel at how elastic time has become. Yet it felt seamless while you were inside it. Even in waking life, time bends with emotion. Fear can slow it down. Imagine a sudden fall, a close call on the road. In those heightened moments, your brain floods with adrenaline, sharpening memory and attention. You recall each detail so vividly that the event feels stretched, as though time itself slowed to let you catch it all. Joy can quicken it. A day spent laughing with someone you love disappears before you're ready, as though time itself has stolen away hours. Why does the brain play these tricks? The answer lies in how it processes information. Your sense of time depends on how much your brain is recording. When it takes in more detail during awe, fear, or novelty, time feels slower, richer. When it takes in less during routine or boredom, time feels faster, thinner. In this way, your perception of time is not fixed, but woven from the threads of memory and attention. And then there is age. As a child, summers felt endless, stretching wide with play and discovery. As an adult, years seem to pass more quickly, slipping by almost unnoticed. Part of this is mathematics. When you are young, a year is a large fraction of your life. When you are older, it is smaller. But part is also a novelty. Childhood is filled with first steps, first words, first loves, and each new experience slows time by filling it with detail. As the years pass and routines settle, fewer new memories are made, and time seems to accelerate. This illusion can be softened. When you seek new experiences, travel, learn, and step outside of habit, you create more memories. And more memories mean a richer sense of time. A week filled with newness can feel longer than a month of repetition. In this way, you shape not only your days, but your sense of their length. Physics, too, whispers strange truths about time. Einstein showed that time is not absolute, but relative. It flows differently depending on speed and gravity. A clock on an airplane ticks slightly slower than one on the ground. A clock near a black hole slows dramatically, stretched by gravity's pull. To you, these shifts are invisible, but they remind us that time is not as steady as it feels. Even in the fabric of the universe, time bends. Yet for all its mystery, you experience time not as equations, but as life. You know it through breath, heartbeat, sunrise, and memory. Each beat of your heart, each cycle of your breath is a clock within you, guiding the rhythm of your days. These rhythms tie you to the passage of time more deeply than any clock could measure. Now imagine sitting quietly in the evening. The room is still, the air is soft. A minute passes, then another. You glance at the clock, and the numbers change. Yet, if you close your eyes, time feels different. It is not numbers or ticks. It is the unfolding of sensation, thought, and awareness. Each moment arises and passes, not counted but lived. Meditation makes this even clearer. When you rest your mind on the breath, seconds may feel slow and open. When your mind wanders, time disappears, and you may suddenly notice that minutes have passed without awareness. Time exists, but your experience of it depends on where your attention rests. This is why scientists sometimes say the brain is not a clock, but a storyteller. It gathers events, organizes them, and weaves them into a flow. The flow feels steady, but it is an illusion, like a film made of still images moving quickly. Your brain stitches together fragments, giving you the feeling of continuity. Without this stitching, time would feel disjointed, fractured, impossible to live within. Think again of memory. When you recall the past, you reassemble fragments of stored experience. The richer the memory, the longer the moment feels in retrospect. This is why childhood summers stretch so wide in memories, so many details, so many firsts. And this is why ordinary weeks blur into nothing, vanishing almost, without trace. Memory is the loom on which time is woven, and so you begin to see that time, as you live it, is not a straight line. It is more like a fabric, stretching and folding, thickening and thinning. It is shaped not only by clocks, but by feeling, attention, memory, and meaning. Time is not something you simply pass through. It is something you co-create with your mind. As you lie here now, breathing slowly, notice how elastic time feels. Perhaps this moment is long, stretching wide with awareness. Perhaps it is short, vanishing into softness. Either way, it is not fixed. You are shaping it even now, and a question emerges, soft but persistent. If time is not steady, if it bends, in memory, attention, and physics, then what of the things that seem steady like matter itself? The walls around you, the bed beneath you, your own hand. Are they as solid as they appear? Or is there another illusion waiting beneath their surface? Your hand feels solid, your bed feels firm. Yet inside, atoms are mostly space, vast deserts where particles drift like stars. The solidity you trust is only an illusion of repulsion, a ghostly dance of forces holding you gently in place. You rest your hand against the blanket, and it feels firm, reassuring, safe. You could press your palm against the wall beside you, and you would be certain this is solid. You trust solidity. It grounds you. It lets you lean, build, hold, and stay upright. And yet, if you look deeply enough, beneath the surface, into the hidden heart of matter, you would discover something almost unbelievable. What you call solid is mostly empty. Atoms, the tiny building blocks of everything around you, are oceans of space. If an atom were stretched to the size of a cathedral, its nucleus, the dense heart, where protons and neutrons rest, would be no bigger than a fly buzzing in the center. The electrons, those tiny, restless companions, would orbit far away at the edges, like planets circling an invisible sun. Between nucleus and electron, there would be nothing, just silence and space. And yet, your hand does not fall through. Your blanket, your body does not sink into the floor. Why? Because what you experience as solidity is not filled matter at all. It is the invisible repulsion of forces. Imagine two magnets. They're like poles facing. Push them together, and they resist. Invisible walls rising between them. No matter how hard you press, they never truly touch. The surfaces you trust are much the same. When your hand rests on the blanket, no atoms are colliding. Instead, the electrons surrounding the atoms of your hand push against the electrons surrounding the atoms of the blanket. What you feel is force, not contact. Solidity is the feeling of resistance, not the meeting of matter. Pause here and picture it. Your hand, seemingly pressed against fabric, is not truly touching it. On the smallest scale, touch is impossible. Every embrace, every step, every weight you bear is built on this phantom wall of repulsion. You float a fraction of a fraction above everything you think you touch. And yet, this illusion is so complete, so seamless, that it feels utterly real. As you breathe in, notice how your chest expands, ribs lifting with air. The firmness of your ribs, the structure of your bones, these too are empty. Bones feel hard and dependable because their atoms are arranged in lattice, locked together in patterns, like scaffolding. But if you could shrink small enough, you would pass through them almost unhindered, slipping between particles as if they were distant stars in a vast and lonely sky. It can be unsettling, even dizzying, to realize that what appears solid is woven mostly from nothing. Yet there is a kind of peace in this, too. Emptiness allows space. Emptiness allows structure. If atoms were packed completely full, with no space inside, there would be no flexibility, no room to move, no room to breathe. You could not bend, stretch, or live. The void within matter is not a flaw. It is the quiet stage that makes existence possible. Think of the night sky. At first, it looks like endless darkness, sprinkled with pinpricks of stars. But then you realize the darkness is not empty at all. It is the backdrop that lets the stars shine. Without the wide silence of space, there would be no constellations, no galaxies, no story of the heavens. Matter is much the same. The emptiness inside every atom is what allows the tiny sparks of particles to arrange themselves into you, into your world, into everything you know. Now imagine shrinking yourself smaller, smaller still, slipping past skin, past cells, into the domain of atoms. The air thickens with silence. You drift closer to the nucleus, past ghostly electrons flickering in their orbits. But you do not see little balls circling like planets. Quantum mechanics whispers a different story. Electrons are not marbles, but clouds, spread out like mist, probabilities rather than certainties. They do not occupy one place, but many, all at once, until your act of noticing collapses them into a single position. Solidity, then, is not only space, but uncertainty, a haze of possibilities wrapped around each atom, and in the center, the nucleus, you find almost all of the atoms, weight compressed into an unimaginably tiny space. Protons and neutrons cluster there, bound tightly by what physicists call the strong force. It is the most powerful glue in the universe, holding matter together against the natural urge to fly apart. Without this bond, the emptiness would unravel, and the world would dissolve into drifting dust. You may wonder, if the atom is mostly empty, why does matter feel so stable? Why doesn't your body dissolve into the void? The answer is the balance of forces. Electromagnetism keeps electrons close. The strong force locks the nucleus, and together they build a structure that, though hollow, is resilient. Imagine a spider's web stretched across branches. It is mostly gaps, mostly air, yet touch it and it holds. A dewdrop clings to it, a breeze trembles against it, and though fragile in appearance, it endures. You are built of such webs, billions upon billions woven together, their emptiness giving rise to form. Atoms, with their vast spaces, mirror galaxies with their wide gulfs of darkness. Just as electrons orbit nuclei, stars orbit galactic centers. Just as you live within the emptiness of atoms, you live within the emptiness of space. The pattern repeats from the smallest to the largest scales, as if emptiness is not absence, but a quiet design running through reality. There is comfort in this echo. The emptiness inside you is the same emptiness that holds the stars apart you carry within. You, the same vastness that stretches between galaxies. You are both fragile and immense, hollow and whole, a paradox made of space and sparks. And perhaps, in your daily life, this hidden truth whispers in ways you never notice. When you sit in stillness and feel lightness in your body, it is not only imagination. You are light. For most of you is space. When you float in dreams, slipping through shifting landscapes, perhaps your brain is echoing the true structure of matter, the ability to pass through what seems solid, because solidity is only the dance of invisible forces. So the bed beneath you, the pillow against your cheek, the walls around your room, they are all illusions of firmness, kindnesses of physics, allowing you to rest. But remember, you never truly touch them. You hover above them, supported by repulsion, held by emptiness. You are floating, always. The paradox is gentle. Matter feels heavy, yet is built on lightness. It feels solid, yet is made of space. And in this paradox, you find a mirror of yourself, strong and fragile, grounded and weightless, held together by forces invisible but unwavering. Close your eyes for a moment and picture your body as a constellation of atoms, each one a small universe of emptiness. Billions of galaxies arranged into the shape of you. Between them, the void stretches quietly, but instead of falling apart, you remain whole, because the forces at play are perfectly balanced. You are harmony written in emptiness. And as you drift deeper into this thought, you may begin to wonder, if everything around you is mostly empty space, what does it mean to be real? How can solidity feel so convincing when the building blocks themselves are hollow? Is reality itself an illusion of perception, a mirage woven by your senses, your brain, your mind? The question lingers, like a soft echo in the dark, carrying you gently toward the next mystery. If matter is emptiness, then what is reality made of at all? Close your eyes and feel the witness that lingers behind your thoughts. This you seems steady, unbroken, and eternal. But neuroscience whispers another story of memory stitched to sensation, of identity woven like fragile silk. The self you feel may be less a solid being and more a shimmering mirage, glowing only as long as the mind imagines it. You lie still, breathing softly as the night folds around you. In this quiet, you notice something subtle, not your body, not the bed beneath you, not even the sounds outside your window. You notice you, the one who seems to be here, behind the eyes, inside the chest, watching it all unfold. This sense of self feels so obvious, so natural, that you may never have thought to question it. But tonight, we wander deeper. We ask, what exactly is this you that watches? Neuroscience suggests that the self is not a single thing, but a process. A story your brain continuously tells, moment by moment. Like a play performed on a stage, the actors are ever changing, yet the performance feels whole. Your memories provide continuity, your senses provide input, and your emotions provide color. Together, they weave a character, one that feels stable, but is, in fact, always shifting. Think of your earliest memory. Perhaps you see yourself as a child, playing outside, or sitting at a table with family. That memory feels like you, and yet the body in that image is small, the mind unformed, the voice different. Still, you claim that child as yourself. Your brain stretches a thread of continuity through time, linking that small being to the one resting here now. It is not that the self has been constant, but that your brain has woven the differences into a single flowing identity. The stitching happens mostly in silence. Different regions of the brain light up like tiny cities at night, sending electrical signals to one another. Some focus on the body, where your limbs are, how your heart beats. Others store the past, little archives of scenes and feelings. Others still generate perspective, letting you imagine the future, project intentions, and picture yourself in worlds that don't yet exist. Each part speaks its language, but together they form a chorus, and out of that chorus rises the voice. You call me. Imagine the self as a pearl forming inside an oyster. A pearl is not created all at once. It grows slowly, layer by layer, built from tiny deposits. The self is similar, layers of memory, emotion, and sensation accumulating. Over time, hardening into a shape that feels solid, even though no single layer defines it. The pearl shines not because of any one fragment, but because of the way countless fragments cling together. And yet, if you look closely, you realize how fragile the self truly is. Brain science shows that damage to memory can change who a person believes they are. Someone with amnesia may lose their sense of identity, unable to connect their current moment to a larger thread. They are still alive, still conscious, but without memory, their self seems to dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. It suggests that what we call identity is not a permanent thing carried deep inside, but an ongoing act of construction. This may sound unsettling, but it can also be freeing. You are not a fixed sculpture, carved once and forever. You are more like a river, always flowing, always moving, never the same twice, yet recognizable by its path. Your brain creates the illusion of permanence so you can navigate the world. But underneath, change is your true nature. When you reflect on yourself, you notice layers. There is the body, with its aches, warmth, and rhythms. There is the personality, the familiar patterns of thought and behavior. There is the memory of your past and the imagined outline of your future. But there is also something deeper, the witness, the quiet watcher who observes it all. Who is that? Some traditions call it consciousness, others awareness, others soul. Science has not yet found a neat definition, but neuroscience does reveal that the brain can generate the sense of being a subject, the one who sees, the one who hears, the one who knows. It is like a lens that gathers all experience into a center point, giving the impression that everything belongs to one owner. Without this mechanism, perceptions would be scattered, like stars without constellations. With it, they form patterns, and the pattern feels like you. But here is the paradox. The self that watches cannot be pinned down. The moment you turn to examine it, it shifts. Is it your body, your thoughts, your memories? None seems to fully capture it. The self is like the flame of a candle, bright, undeniable, yet impossible to grasp. You can see it, feel it, but if you try to take hold, it vanishes. Neuroscience experiments suggest that the brain constructs the feeling of agency the sense that you are the one making choices. Your decisions emerge from networks of neurons, long before you are aware of them. Then, a fraction of a second later, your brain adds the narrative, "I chose this." The self is not so much the initiator as the storyteller, weaving intention into the flow of action. This does not make you powerless. Rather, it shows that the self is the interpreter, translating the vast unconscious dance of the brain into a personal story. Think of yourself as the reader of a book, being written moment by moment. The story unfolds, and you experience it as though you were the author, but really, you are the audience of your own inner theater. The characters are your thoughts, the scenes are your memories, the emotions are the music, and seated in the center, watching it all, is the self. This perspective softens identity. It helps you see that the self is flexible, a creation rather than a prison. Just as you can imagine yourself into a story or slip into the perspective of a character in a dream, so too can your sense of self shift and adapt. In meditation, people often notice that the self begins to dissolve, thoughts arise and fade, sensations drift in and out, and the witness remains spacious and open, without boundaries. And perhaps you have already felt this in those quiet moments where you forget yourself completely. When music carries you, or the sight of a sunset overwhelms you, or sleep begins to pull you into a dream, the self recedes, and something more expansive takes its place. Time, space, and identity blur into pure presence. In those moments, the self that watches grows thin, like a veil, almost ready to lift. Still, each morning, the self returns. You wake, remember your name, your life, your place. The story resumes, as though nothing had paused. The brain gathers the scattered threads and reweaves the tapestry. The illusion is useful. It grounds you in a world where continuity matters. Yet, at night, as you drift into sleep, you can glimpse the truth that the self is delicate, transient, a flame flickering on the stage of consciousness. So, who are you, really? The child in your memory, the adult lying in bed, the witness behind your eyes. Perhaps you are all of these and none. You are the dance of neurons and the story they tell, the river of experience and the pearl of identity, the candle flame that flickers but does not stay. And maybe the deepest peace comes not from answering, but from resting in the question. As you breathe slow and calm, you feel the mystery of being. To exist at all is wondrous. To watch yourself exist is more wondrous still. The self that watches is not a fixed object to be solved, but a mirror reflecting life's endless flow. And in that reflection, you are both the dreamer and the dream. Each night, your brain rehearses with dreams, weaving stories from memory and emotion. But even now, in waking life, you dream projecting expectations onto the world. Reality is not received, but imagined, painted softly from within. The waking mind is a quiet theater, and you are both a dreamer and witness. Close your eyes for a moment and remember the last dream you had. Perhaps it was strange, filled with impossible places and faces half remembered. Perhaps it was vivid, so real that when you awoke, you carried the emotions with you into the day. Dreams arrive without permission, weaving themselves from fragments of memory and imagination. They are stories told in the silent language of the brain, and yet Though you think of dreams as something belonging only to the night, science suggests a gentler truth. You are dreaming even now. Awake, speaking, moving. Your brain is still building a story. It is not a direct recording of reality, but an interpretation, a projection shaped by past experiences, hopes, fears, and expectations. The world you believe you see is never purely out there. Instead, it is a picture painted in the quiet theater of your mind. Just as your sleeping dreams stitch together unlikely characters and impossible landscapes, your waking perception stitches together light, sound, touch, and memory into something coherent enough to live within. Pause and notice. You never perceive the world instantly. Signals from your eyes, ears, and skin take time to travel into your brain. Neurons then process them, integrate them, and compare them to the vast library of what you already know. By the time you think you are experiencing now, your brain has already done its work, predicting, filling gaps, smoothing rough edges. What you call the present is already a constructed past. It is as though you walk through a film projected onto the walls of your mind, a film so seamless that you forget you are inside a theater. Consider color. When you see a red rose, photons strike your eyes, but red is not in the petals. It exists only in the brain's interpretation of light. The flower you gaze upon becomes painted with your personal dream of color. In this way, every moment is more like a lucid dream than a direct experience of the physical world. Now think of sound. A song drifts through the air, yet there are no notes truly floating. Only waves of pressure move through space, rippling into your ears. The brain translates these vibrations into tone, rhythm, melody. The music exists because you give it shape. Without a listening mind, the air would carry only restless patterns of motion and touch the reassuring weight of your body on the bed, the softness of a pillow beneath your cheek. You feel these sensations as though they arise directly from the world, but really, they are nervous signals translated into a private language only you can experience. Touch, too, is a dream shaped within. At night, when you dream and sleep, your brain plays without input from the outside world. Awake, it continues the same game, but now guided partly by external signals. In both states, it is constructed. In both states, it is imagined. The border between waking and dreaming is thinner than you think. This realization can feel unsettling, but it is also comforting. Because if reality is partly a dream, then every breath, every sight, every sound is a shared act of creation. You are not a passive receiver of life. You are an artist, painting each instant with the brush of perception. Your memories play an enormous role in this art. Imagine walking into a room you have never seen before. You notice some details, but your brain fills in the rest, using memory and pattern. You expect walls, a floor, perhaps a ceiling, and so you see them even before your senses confirm their presence. The mind predicts, and the predictions become perception. You dream the room into being. Sometimes these predictions go astray. Consider illusions. When you see lines bending that are truly straight, or when you hear a word repeated until it turns into nonsense. The mind insists on patterns, even when none exist. Like an over-enthusiastic dreamer, it invents where information is missing. This predictive dreaming is not a flaw. It is a survival skill. It lets you move through the world with fluidity, anticipating dangers, recognizing faces, catching a ball before it strikes you. The waking dream is a tool of life, a bridge between uncertain input and decisive action. Yet within this dreamlike construction lies a mystery: your emotions. When you meet someone you love, your heart responds before your thoughts do. The warmth in their smile, the softness in their voice, these feelings arise not just from the person, but from the stories your brain has already written about them. Emotion, colors, perception. Love turns ordinary moments luminous. Fear stretches seconds into eternities. Joy collapses hours into laughter. Dreams, whether asleep or awake, are steeped in emotion. In fact, neuroscientists find that the brain's emotional centers remain highly active during dreams. They guide the narrative, giving weight and tone to the unfolding story. And in waking life, emotion continues to serve as the ink that outlines your perception. Close your eyes again. Picture walking through a forest. The tall trees arch above you, filtering light into a gentle green. The air is cool, filled with the earthy scent of moss and soil. You hear the faint rustle of leaves, the call of a bird echoing across distance. This scene arises easily in your mind because your brain is always ready to dream. Even without the forest before you, you can walk its paths in imagination. Your mind rehearses reality like a painter preparing a canvas. And now consider this. Your brain uses the same neural machinery for imagining as for perceiving. To picture the forest and to walk through it engage overlapping pathways. Reality and imagination blur in the circuitry of the mind. The waking dream and the sleeping dream are siblings woven from the same thread. Some cultures have long intuited this truth. They speak of life as a dream, or of the world as an illusion, a veil painted across the eyes. Science now offers its own echo of these ancient insights. Perception is not direct, but mediated, filtered, created. You are always dreaming, sometimes alone in sleep, sometimes together in the shared stage of waking life. Think of conversation. When you speak with another, you do not only hear their words, you interpret tone, gesture, expression. You imagine intentions, predict meanings, dream into existence the sense of connection. Communication is not a perfect transfer of thought, but a meeting of two dreamers, each shaping the moment from within. Dreaming while awake also explains the way your mind drifts into daydreams. You walk along a street, yet your thoughts wander into memory, into hope, into fear. Part of you is in the world, part of you is within. You live in two theaters at once, the outer and the inner. But here lies a deeper wonder. Sometimes the waking dream becomes so absorbing that you lose awareness of yourself as the dreamer. You become identified with the story. This is how reality feels solid, stable, unquestionable. Only rarely do you step back and remember, this too is a dream now. Imagine if you could rest gently in this awareness, not needing to break the dream, but to float within it knowingly, to recognize life as both real and imagined, both given and created. Such awareness brings a calm, a tenderness, a sense that every experience is more precious for its fragility. The night dreams you enter while asleep often fade quickly upon waking, yet the waking dream persists, repeating each day, binding you into a narrative of self. Who are you in this ongoing dream? A traveler, a thinker, a lover, perhaps all at once, perhaps more. As you drift deeper into this reflection, notice the quiet rhythm of your breath. Each inhale, each exhale, like waves washing the shore of awareness. Breathing itself is a dreamlike dance, automatic, unconscious, yet also intimate, felt, experienced. Science teaches you that the brain's networks flicker and weave, billions of neurons exchanging whispers, sculpting the dream you call your life. But beyond the science, there is the feeling of it, the miracle that out of silent electricity and delicate chemistry, there arises a world of color, sound, and touch. A world of longing and belonging. A world where you can wonder at its own nature. The dream is fragile, but it is also generous. It allows you to rest in a story, to feel meaning in moments, to walk through the day with a sense of continuity. Without it, there would be no self, no memory, no sense of time's unfolding. The dream holds you gently, like a cradle, rocking you through existence. And perhaps, as you lie here listening, you feel the edges of waking and dreaming blur. The calm of the voice, the softness of thought, the steady rhythm of breath, all are invitations to let go, to enter that other dream of sleep. But before you drift, let a question linger in your mind, like a lantern glowing softly in the dark. If waking life is also a dream, then what becomes of the dreamer when the dream is gone? At the smallest scales, certainty dissolves. Particles are neither here nor there until observed. The universe waits, undefined, like a canvas unseen. You float with quantum uncertainty, where possibility is more fundamental than solidity. You rest inside the quiet of your room, the world outside dimming into silence. Around you, everything seems steady, the walls, the bed, the weight of your body against the sheets. It feels solid, reliable, unchanging. But beneath this calm surface, hidden from your everyday senses, there is another world. A world of trembling uncertainty. A world where the rules you trust begin to loosen, where reality itself flickers like candlelight in an unseen breeze. You begin to drift toward this world, not by moving your body, but by softening your thoughts. Your mind becomes a lens, and suddenly the ordinary vanishes. You shrink, smaller and smaller, falling past the skin of your hand, past the red rivers of your blood, past the swirling molecules that make you whole. You arrive at the border where the everyday dissolves, the quantum realm. Here, size no longer feels meaningful. Atoms stretch into vast spaces. Electrons hum in uncertain clouds, more like whispers than things. The closer you look, the more the solid fabric of matter unravels into probabilities, into chances, into maybes. Reality stops being something you can point to and becomes something you must imagine. In this quantum veil, particles are not fixed. They do not sit in one place, waiting to be seen. Instead, they hover in possibility. An electron is not here or there, but both and neither, until your gaze falls upon it. Observation does not simply reveal, it participates, collapsing the maybes into a single now. You breathe, slow and gentle, and notice how strange this feels. The world you once thought of as concrete is actually slippery. Solidity is a performance, a surface held together by rules that only exist when you look. Beneath those rules, everything is waiting, hidden in a blur of chance. Imagine tossing a coin. In your ordinary life, the coin flips, spins, and lands as heads or tails. But in the quantum world, before you look, the coin is both heads and tails, suspended in a shimmer of possibilities. Only when you open your eyes does it choose, as if the act of seeing writes reality onto the page. This is called superposition, the ability of a particle to hold many states at once. You let your mind rest here for a moment, floating in that idea. You picture countless doorways, all slightly open, all possible futures waiting. The particle has not yet stepped through any one door. It hovers in all of them. Time itself feels softened, pliable, stretched across possibility. And then comes observation, like a gentle touch. The doors close. The particle chooses. What you see becomes the story you tell. What you don't see fades, like a dream upon waking. You feel the air of your room again and realize you, too, are always in this dance with the unseen. Your eyes, your thoughts, your choices, they collapse the possibilities of your day into the version you call your life. Out of infinite branches, you walk only one, yet the others are never truly gone. They shimmer, unwalked, just beyond your touch. Quantum mechanics whispers of something else. Two entanglement. Two particles, once joined, remain connected even if they drift to opposite ends of the universe. If one is touched, the other shivers in response, instantly, as though distance means nothing. You imagine it now, twin sparks, far apart, yet bound in a silent thread. What happens to one becomes part of the other's story, perhaps. You sense this entanglement in your own life, the way your heart stirs when someone you love is far away, the way a memory can ripple through your body as if it were still happening. Now, in the quantum veil, connection is not bound by space, not delayed by time. It is immediate, intimate, woven deep into the fabric of existence. You let this idea settle into you like a soft weight. The universe is not a collection of separate pieces. It is a web of hidden threads, each strand trembling when another is touched. You are not outside this web. You are within it, shaped by it, echoing it with every breath. As you drift deeper, you notice the veil growing thinner. Certainty, that steady anchor of daily life, feels fragile here. The chair, the bed, the stars outside, all are built from quantum whispers, probabilities waiting to be. What you think of as reality is not solid stone, but more like a story, told again and again until it feels true. You pause and wonder, if the universe waits to be seen, what is the role of the one who sees? Is your mind simply a lantern shining on what was already there? Or is it also a painter adding brushstrokes to the canvas? Physics cannot answer fully, though it tries, and yet, here, in the stillness of night, you feel the mystery, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a gentle rhythm to rest within. The quantum veil is not frightening, it is quiet, it is soft. It is the reminder that beneath everything you know, there is a deeper truth, that certainty is a story, and possibility is the page upon which it is written. Think again of your body resting here. You feel solid, and you are. Yet at the same time, every atom inside you hums with emptiness and chance. You are both substance and uncertainty, both structure and shimmer. You are the coin in midair, waiting to land, and you are also the observer, watching it fall. Slowly, you begin to see how this veil touches your life. Every choice you make is a kind of quantum act. The paths not chosen do not vanish. They remain like ghostly echoes. Each conversation could have been different. Each moment could have unfolded another way. You are entangled not only with others, but with the versions of yourself that could have been. The thought is not heavy, but freeing. Life is not a straight line. It is a cloud of possibilities, collapsing into a story as you live it. And in this awareness, you can rest. You can let go of the need for certainty. You can float in the comfort that possibility itself is endless. The quantum veil wraps around you like a blanket of starlight. Beneath it, you drift not into answers, but into wonder. You see how the smallest particles mirror the greatest mysteries. How uncertainty, rather than being weakness, is the very fabric of creation. How possibility itself is the womb of reality. You breathe in once more, slowly, deeply, and feel the weight of the world as lighter than before. The solid is not so solid. The certainty is not so certain. And yet it is enough. The universe does not need to be fixed in order for you to belong to it. It needs only to shimmer, and you need only to rest within its shimmer. In the darkness, your eyelids heavier now. You sense that the quantum veil is not the end of the journey, but another doorway. For if matter itself dissolves into chance, if time itself flickers like a mirage, then perhaps the greatest mystery is not outside you, but within the one who perceives. You ask softly, without expecting an answer, if reality is woven from uncertainty, then what does that mean for the dreamer who dreams it? The vast universe reflects your own illusions. Galaxies appear still, though they race apart. Space seems empty, yet hums with invisible energy. You learn how the cosmos itself may be a mirage, shaped by dark matter and dark energy we cannot touch. You rest more deeply now, wrapped in the quiet rhythm of your breath. Around you, the night feels still. The stars beyond the window hold their places as if painted on glass. To your eyes, the universe seems calm, unchanging. But this stillness is an illusion, a trick of perception. In truth, the cosmos is always moving, always expanding, always in motion, too vast for you to feel in this small moment. Close your eyes and imagine lifting gently above your resting body, higher, past the rooftops, past the city, into the quiet above the clouds. Here, the earth spins beneath you, yet as you rise higher still, even that motion begins to fade. You see continents drift only over millennia. You see oceans ripple but seem calm from afar. At this scale, the rushing of the world becomes a whisper. Higher still, you leave Earth behind. You see the planets circling the sun in their patient orbits. Saturn's rings glint softly, a frozen halo of dust. Jupiter swirls with storms older than human history. And farther out, icy fragments drift in a silent cloud, encircling the solar system like a faint shell. You drift beyond, into the dark between stars. Here, silence deepens. Light from distant suns travels for centuries, carrying stories of worlds you cannot see. At first, the stars appear scattered randomly, but then patterns emerge. You see how they cluster, forming galaxies, great swirls of billions of suns held together in spirals of gravity. From far away, galaxies seem still, like frozen pinwheels in the night. But look closer, and you sense their dance. Each one races away from the others, carried by the expansion of space itself. The universe stretches, like fabric being pulled at every seam. Distances grow silently, invisibly. Galaxies are not sailing through space as boats on water. Instead, the space between them is swelling, carrying them apart like driftwood on a rising tide. This expansion is not gentle, it is accelerating. The farther a galaxy lies, the faster it seems to recede. There is no center to this motion. Number, edge. Everything is rushing away from everything else, and the silence you feel is the sound of stretching itself. For a moment, you pause inside this vision. You picture galaxies as lanterns drifting outward on an invisible current, their light fading slowly with distance. You breathe, and with each breath, you feel the stretching too, not in your body, but in the quiet recognition that even stillness hides motion, but the cosmic mirror holds deeper mysteries. When astronomers look at these galaxies, they see something puzzling. The stars at the edges of galaxies do not move as expected. By all visible matter, the galaxies should not even hold together. They should fling apart, scattering like sparks from a fire. Yet they remain whole, their spirals intact. Something unseen, something invisible, holds them together. This unseen glue is called dark matter. You cannot touch it, cannot see it, yet its pull is undeniable. It bends the paths of stars, shapes the form of galaxies, even curves the light that passes near it. Dark matter does not shine, but its shadow is written across the cosmos in the way everything moves. Imagine yourself drifting through a galaxy now. Stars spin around you, but beneath them, in silence, a hidden skeleton supports their dance. Dark matter is like the invisible frame of a house, unseen behind the walls, but essential to every structure. Without it, galaxies collapse. With it, the cosmic spirals hold their shape, like whirlpools bound in unseen current. You wonder at this mystery. How can something so present remain so hidden? Perhaps you think of your own life, the invisible forces that shape you, memory, emotion, thought. They are not things you can hold in your hand, but without them, your life's pattern would scatter. The cosmos, too, is shaped by what cannot be seen. Yet dark matter is only half the story. The expansion of the universe itself, the strange, accelerating stretch of space, cannot be explained by gravity alone. Instead, something else seems to drive it, a force even more mysterious than dark matter. A force called dark energy. Dark energy fills space itself. It is not a particle or a beam, but a property of the vacuum, as though emptiness itself holds pressure. Rather than pulling galaxies together, it pushes them apart, faster and faster, against the binding of gravity. The more space expands, the more dark energy fills it, and the stronger its push becomes. You let this idea wash over you gently. Space, which to your eyes looks empty, is not empty at all. It hums with invisible presence, with a restless expansion that shapes the destiny of every star. The cosmos is not drifting toward stillness. It is stretching into an endless, accelerating openness. You picture it like this: a balloon inflating, specks of dust painted on its surface. As the balloon expands, the specks drift farther apart, though they never move themselves. They are carried effortlessly, on the swelling skin. Galaxies, too, are carried apart, riding the invisible growth of space. But unlike a balloon, the universe has no outer edge. There is no skin, no outside. It stretches everywhere at once, in every direction. What seems like empty darkness is a restless sea of expansion. Growing faster with time, you float within this thought, and the mirror deepens again. The universe you see is not the universe as it is. It is only a faint reflection shaped by shadows. You cannot touch the stars, the galaxies, the light. All of this visible matter makes up less than 5% of the cosmos. The rest is dark, unseen, yet present in every movement of the heavens. So much of reality, it seems, is hidden, and yet the hidden guides everything. The universe is a mirror reminding you that what you see is never the whole story. Just as galaxies conceal dark matter and empty space conceals dark energy, your own life contains unseen currents that shape your path, thoughts unspoken, emotions unnamed, connections invisible but real. The cosmos does not reveal its secrets quickly. It offers hints, patterns, reflections. It shows you that stillness is motion, that emptiness is fullness, that what you see is only the surface of what truly is. As you rest here, your eyelids heavy, you may wonder if the universe is more dream than stone, more illusion than structure. If so much of it is hidden, is what you see only the surface of a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered? The thought is not troubling, but soothing. It invites you to let go of certainty, to rest within mystery. You do not need to know everything in order to belong here. You are part of this cosmic mirror, both the seen and unseen. You are made of starlight and shaped by forces beyond your senses. You are a reflection within a reflection, a pattern within the infinite design. In the quiet, you sense again that the universe is not outside you. It is mirrored within you. The dark matter of your life, your memories, your feelings, your unspoken connections is as real as the unseen matter that holds galaxies together. The dark energy, the restless push of your curiosity, your longing, your expansion into the future mirrors the cosmic expansion itself. You and the cosmos are not separate. You are one fabric, one story, unfolding together. And so you rest, not in answers, but in the gentle knowledge that the universe is vaster, stranger, and more mysterious than the eye can ever see. What you touch is only the surface. What you cannot touch carries you forward. The mirror waits, quiet and infinite, holding both the light you see and the darkness you cannot. And somewhere within its reflection is you. You arrive at the threshold of wonder, where certainty melts into silence, and the mystery itself becomes your home. You are lying here, breath steady, body at rest, mind hovering in the quiet. The chapters before have carried you through galaxies, through atoms, through the strange veil of perception and the dreamlike nature of reality itself. And now, in this final unfolding, you arrive at the edge of understanding, the place where science and mystery touch. This is not the end of the journey, like the hush of the night sky above you. It simply invites you to notice. And as you notice, you realize that every question you have ever carried, every attempt to measure and define reality, has been a movement within this larger embrace. Science, with all its precision, is not separate from mystery. It is its companion. Every discovery opens to new questions. Every equation leads to an unknown horizon. Think of Newton watching the apple fall. He saw the law of gravity in action, and yet he too wondered, what pulls the planets? What invisible hand binds the stars? Then came Einstein, showing us how space bends, how time itself stretches and folds. But even Einstein could only look so far before mystery once again dissolved the floor beneath his feet. You, too, stand in that lineage, the lineage of wanderers, of dreamers who look at the world and see not only what is, but what cannot yet be known. In your body, atoms hum with forces we still do not fully understand. In your mind, thoughts spark from patterns of neurons that remain, even now, largely unexplored. You live inside a universe whose origins remain hidden, whose destination is still uncertain. Mystery is fullness too vast for the container of words. To step into mystery is to allow yourself to rest in not. It is to feel the ground of reality shift beneath your feet, and instead of clinging, to soften, to float, to drift into the openness that surrounds you. You may think of your life, the memories, the choices, the sense of self you have carried since childhood. At times, it has felt solid, like a story unfolding in one clear direction. Yet, even here, mystery threads through. How do you summon a memory? Where do thoughts arise from? What is the spark of awareness that allows you to even ask these questions? Neuroscience can map brain regions, track chemical flows, describe the mechanics of thought, and still, the essence of your own subjectivity. A horizon that retreats as you approach. And this is not failure, this is beauty. For if the self could be pinned down entirely, explained away, it would lose its shimmering depth. Mystery is what gives the self its sacredness, the reminder that you are more than circuits of neurons, more than memory and matter. You are the unfolding of something larger, something woven into the universe itself. Pause for a moment, hear, breathe. Let your awareness open like a sky. Notice that the mystery is not out there waiting to be found, but already here, within every breath, every heartbeat. The stars, scattered like jewels, are themselves surrounded by mystery. Dark energy pushes the galaxies apart, stretching space faster and faster, and we do not know why. Our instruments, our theories, our most careful calculations bring us to the edge, and then, beyond that edge, silence. Yet notice how comforting that silence is. It is not an enemy. It is an openness into which your mind can relax. Just as the night sky invites you to gaze without end, the mystery of the universe invites you to rest without needing to complete the picture. You are part of it already. Whether you understand it fully or not, there is a deep peace in this. To release the need for total comprehension is to fall gently into belonging. You belong not because you know, but because you are. Every star, every cell, every atom is kin to you, made of the same cosmic ingredients, following the same laws, wrapped in the same ungraspable wonder. Mystery is not only cosmic, it is intimate. It is the way your body heals a cut, knitting tissue quietly in the dark. It is the way laughter erupts, unplanned, from your chest, or tears rise suddenly in your eyes. You are not the engineer of all this. Allow yourself to sink into the gentleness of not knowing. You are free from the burden of answers. You are free to let the questions themselves be your companions. Why does consciousness exist? Why does something exist instead of nothing? Why do the laws of physics have the shape they do? Each question floats like a lantern across a still lake. You watch them drift, their reflections shimmering on the surface. You do not chase them. You do not need to. The beauty is in the drifting itself. Some traditions have long spoken of this. Poets whisper that mystery is the heart of truth. Mystics remind us that what cannot be spoken is the most real, and science, in its own way, confirms it, for at its cutting edge, at the quantum horizon, at the edges of cosmology, it too bows to the unanswerable. You are not alone in this bowing. Every seeker across time has stood where you stand, aware of the immensity, aware of the limits of knowledge, and yet still breathing, still alive, still part of it all. Mystery is not a barrier between you and reality. It is the very fabric of reality itself, the shimmering veil that makes the dance of existence possible. Close your eyes, if they are not already closed, and feel this veil, not as something separating you from the world, but as something you are woven into. You are not outside looking in, listening to its quiet music. Perhaps now you see the ultimate discovery is not an answer, but a way of being. It is to carry your curiosity not as a weapon to conquer, but as a candle to illuminate, knowing the candlelight is small, but beautiful and enough. The stars will continue to move, atoms will continue to hum, the mind will continue to wonder, and you, held in this grand movement, can simply rest in the knowledge that you do not need to reach the end. The journey itself is home. Let your breathing slow again. Feel your body soften, your mind quiet. Mystery holds you as the ocean holds a drifting wave, as the night holds a single shining star. You do not need to be more than this moment. You are complete in your incompleteness, whole in your unknowing, luminous in your mystery. And as you drift, remember, the universe itself is still drifting, still expanding, still waking into its own unknown future. You are part of that unfolding. Let yourself be released into peace, and just before sleep takes you, one final reflection rises gently, like the tide returning to shore. If everything is wrapped in mystery, the cosmos, the self, the dream, the very fabric of existence, then what, perhaps, lies beyond even mystery itself? As we come to the end of this journey, let the thought linger. Reality is not a rigid wall, but a shifting reflection, a dance between your mind and the universe around you. The illusion of solidity, the stories your senses weave, the quiet mysteries science reveals. They are not meant to unsettle you, but to remind you of the wonder of being alive inside this vast, unfolding dream. If tonight's exploration spoke to you, I'd love to hear your reflections. Leave a comment below. Share the moment that made you pause, or the question that still whispers in your mind. I read each one, and they guide the paths we walk together. If this video gave you peace, clarity, or even just a spark of curiosity, take a second to like it. Small gestures ripple far, just like the tiny quantum shifts we spoke of. And if you'd like to continue these nightly voyages into science, wonder, and imagination, I invite you to subscribe and gently ring the notification bell. That way, you'll always know when a new journey begins, and maybe there's someone in your life who would drift more easily into sleep, or wake more gently into wonder. if they heard this story? If so, share this video with them, a small gift of calm in a world that often forgets how to slow down. For now, let your breathing deepen. Let the edges of thought grow soft, and carry with you the truth that mystery is not an absence of answers, but a presence of beauty. Until we meet again, may your night be calm, your dreams vivid, and your sense of wonder unbroken. Good night.